The bed was warm before she touched it. That was the detail that caught her breath. Not the size of the room, not the quiet, not even him sitting across from her in the chair, still as if he had been placed there on purpose. The warmth came first. It crept into her awareness like a secret she wasn't supposed to notice yet. She stood near the foot of the bed, coat still on, fingers resting loosely at her sides. She hadn't planned to stand this long. Standing made moments feel unfinished. Standing made her aware of her body in ways she usually controlled better. "You can sit," he said. His voice was calm, not inviting, not dismissive. She didn't. "I'm fine," she replied, then immediately hated how fast the words came out. He nodded once and went quiet again. The room was dim but not hiding. The lamp by the wall glowed low, catching the edges of things instead of filling the space. Shadows stayed where they belonged. Nothing dramatic, nothing forgiving. She took off her coat slowly, folding it instead of tossing it aside. That small care felt important, like if she rushed, something would break. She moved closer to the bed and sat on the edge, testing it with her weight. The mattress dipped slightly, accepting her without comment. The warmth pressed up through the sheets, unmistakable now. "You were here," she said. "Yes," he replied. Not an apology, not an explanation. She shifted, letting the heat spread along her legs, her hips. It wasn't fresh warmth. It had depth, the kind that lingers after someone has been still for a while, the kind that remembers shape. Her mouth went dry. He stayed in the chair. That was the second detail that mattered. Most people would have moved closer by now. They would have taken the bed as an invitation. They would have let warmth do the talking for them. He let it sit there, waiting. "You're far away?" she said lightly. "Yes," he replied. "And you're comfortable with that?" "Yes." The honesty unsettled her more than resistance would have. Resistance was familiar. You leaned against it. You pushed. You turned it into momentum. This felt like something else. She leaned back on her hands, palms pressing into the mattress, arching just enough to feel the heat more fully. The bed responded, molding to her weight, holding her without asking permission. The distance didn't change. "You could come closer," she said. "I could," he agreed. She waited for the movement that usually followed that sentence. It didn't come. The silence stretched, not awkward, not empty. Charged, dense, like the air itself was deciding whether to move. She laughed softly, more to hear something break the quiet than because it was funny. "This is strange," she said. "Yes," he replied. She turned onto her side, drawing one knee up, letting the blanket slide just enough to feel the air against her skin. Not for him, for herself. The warmth stayed, loyal, patient. The bed was doing its work. He was not. "You're very controlled," she said. "Yes. And you like watching." "I like noticing," he said. The distinction landed slow and heavy. Noticing didn't take. Noticing didn't claim. Noticing waited. She rolled onto her back, staring at the ceiling, aware of her own breathing now. Each inhale felt louder. Each exhale felt deliberate. She could feel her pulse where the mattress met her spine. "You know what this looks like," she said. "Yes." "And you're still not moving." "No." The bed creaked softly when she shifted again. The sound small but intimate. She wondered if he heard it the way she did, like the room clearing its throat. She pushed herself upright and sat, crossing her legs this time. The posture was familiar, protective without being closed. She liked the way it felt, the way it made her aware of the space she occupied. "You're letting the distance do something," she said. "Yes." "To me." "Yes." "And to you." He paused before answering. "To both of us," he said. The pause mattered. She studied him from the bed, the way he sat without leaning forward, The way his hands rested open, not clenched, not reaching. The way his eyes stayed on her, without sliding anywhere else. "You're not nervous," she said. "No." "You're not waiting for permission." "No." "You're waiting for something?" she said. "Yes." She felt the answer before he spoke it. "For me to notice," he said. Her chest tightened. She had noticed. She just hadn't admitted it yet. The warmth beneath her felt heavier now, almost alive. The bed held her in a way that felt personal, intimate, almost conspiratorial. It offered comfort freely, without conditions. That was the danger. "You could make this easier," she said. "Yes." "And you're choosing not to." "Yes." She swung her legs off the bed and stood, the warmth clinging to her skin as she moved away from it. The loss of it was immediate, sharp enough to feel intentional. She closed half the distance between them and stopped, close enough to feel his presence, far enough to keep the line intact. Her body was alert now, awake in a way that had nothing to do with sleep. Not heat, awareness, the kind that made every inch of space feel meaningful. "You're enjoying this," she said, quieter now. "Yes," he replied. "Not because I'm here." "No, because I'm waiting." "Yes." The truth of it settled low and slow. She had always been good at waiting. Waiting made people impatient. Impatient people made mistakes. Now she was the one measuring time. She stepped closer again, then stopped herself. The movement felt different now, less confident, more deliberate, like stepping near a ledge you hadn't seen before. She smiled, dark humor curling at the edge of it. "This is backwards," she said. "Yes." "And you planned it." "No," he said. "You did." The words landed softly and stayed. She looked back at the bed, at the warmth still held there, patient and unchanged. The distance between her and it felt longer now, stretched by awareness. The distance between her and him felt sharper. She returned to the bed and sat again, slower this time, letting the mattress accept her weight without testing it. The warmth greeted her like it had been waiting. "You're letting the bed be the temptation," she said. "Yes." "And the distance the rule." "Yes." She shook her head slowly, smiling despite herself. "That's dangerous," she said. "Yes," he replied. She lay back again, hands folded loosely over her stomach, eyes on the ceiling. The warmth spread, familiar and unsettling. The room held still around them. She felt the pull to close the space, to stand up, to walk to him, to end the waiting on her terms. She didn't. The waiting had turned inward. She realized then that the danger wasn't in how close they were. It was in how comfortable she was becoming with not being reached for. The bed stayed warm. The distance stayed sharp. And somewhere in that space, something had already begun. She stayed where she was, lying on the bed, letting the warmth hold her like it had earned the right. It hadn't. That was the problem. The heat pressed into her back, familiar now, almost persuasive. It made her want to forget that the warmth was borrowed, that it remembered someone else before it remembered her. She shifted slightly, not to get comfortable, but to test whether the bed would ask something in return. It didn't. Across the room, he remained in the chair. Still, present, unmoved. The distance between them stopped feeling neutral. It sharpened, like a blade laid flat on a table. Harmless if untouched. Dangerous the moment someone reached for it the wrong way. She sat up slowly, swinging her legs over the side of the bed again. The warmth clung to her skin longer than it should have, like it was reluctant to let her go. "You're letting it cool," he said. "Yes," she replied. "And that bothers you?" "Yes." She stood and walked a few steps, stopping short of the halfway point. She could feel the room respond, not shifting, not tightening, just paying attention. "This is strange," she said again. But this time her voice carried something else beneath it. Curiosity sharpened into intent. Yes, he replied. It's becoming honest. She laughed softly, low in her throat. I don't usually like honest this much. You like control, he said. Yes. And this, he continued, is control refusing to be rushed. She crossed her arms loosely, not defensive, just grounding herself. The awareness in her body had grown louder, more focused. Not hunger, not impatience, attention. She took another step toward him, then stopped again. Each pause felt deliberate now, like she was choosing not to end the moment too soon. You're very good at not touching, she said. Yes. And you know exactly what that does. Yes. The admission landed with a quiet weight. He wasn't pretending this was accidental. He wasn't hiding behind politeness or restraint as an excuse. This was intentional distance, chosen and maintained. She turned away from him and walked back to the bed, sitting down once more. The mattress dipped, the warmth greeting her again, faithful and dangerous. You're letting the bed do the work, she said. Yes. And you're watching. Yes. She lay back, this time closing her eyes briefly, letting sensation rise without direction. The heat, the quiet, the awareness of him in the room without the relief of movement. When she opened her eyes again, the ceiling looked closer than before. You're not worried I'll get bored? She said. No. Most people do. Yes. And you don't. No. She rolled onto her side, facing him, propping herself up on one elbow. The angle changed everything. The bed creaked softly, a sound too intimate for how little was happening. Her gaze held his now, steady and unguarded. You're letting me decide, she said. Yes. That's risky. Yes. She smiled, slow and dark. You enjoy risk. Yes, he replied, when it's chosen. The distance pulsed, not shrinking, not expanding, just alive. She felt it in her chest, a tight awareness that made every small movement feel loud. She sat up again and pushed the blanket aside, not revealing anything she hadn't already, just removing the excuse of comfort. The warmth stayed trapped in the sheets behind her, like a reminder. She stood and crossed the room again, stopping closer this time. Close enough to feel the temperature change. Close enough to notice the steadiness of his breath. You could stand up, she said. Yes. And you're not. No. Because if you do, she continued, something changes. Yes. She nodded slowly. You're guarding the distance. Yes. And the distance is the point. Yes. The repetition didn't frustrate her anymore. It focused her. Each yes felt like a line drawn carefully, deliberately, not to block her, but to show her where she stood. She reached out and placed her hand on the back of the chair, not on him. The wood felt cool beneath her palm. Solid. Real. This is cruel, she said quietly. Yes, he replied without apology. And kind. Yes. The combination unsettled her more than either alone. She withdrew her hand and stepped back, breaking the closeness herself. The room seemed to expand, the tension redistributing rather than dissolving. She returned to the bed and sat again, this time farther back, leaning against the headboard. The posture felt different now, less like waiting, more like choosing where to be. You're not trying to win, she said. No. You're trying to keep this intact. Yes. She let out a breath she hadn't realized she'd been holding. The awareness in her body softened slightly, becoming less sharp, more controlled. That's dangerous, she said again. Yes. But not in the way I expected. No. She watched him for a long moment. Really watched him. The way he stayed where he was. The way he let the moment breathe instead of consuming it. You know, she said, most people think desire is about closing distance. Yes. And you think? I think. he said. Desire is about choosing not to. The words settled into her slowly, rearranging something familiar. She had built so much of her power around being approached, being wanted, being taken at the right moment. This was something else. She slid down the bed slightly, sitting cross-legged now, posture relaxed but alert. The warmth beneath her had cooled, no longer persuasive, just present. The bed was losing its advantage. The distance was not. "You're letting me feel this," she said. "Yes." "And you're staying." "Yes." She smiled, real this time, not sharp. "You're very patient." He smiled faintly in return. "So are you." The room held steady. No one moved to end it. No one rushed to change the shape of it. The tension stayed dark, electric, contained. She realized then that the danger wasn't that he might cross the distance. It was that he might never need to. And that thought stayed with her, heavy and thrilling. As the night deepened and the room continued to wait with them, the night deepened without asking permission. Outside, the city dimmed itself into a softer rhythm, the sharp noises smoothing into distant movement. Inside the room, nothing changed, and that constancy became its own pressure. The bed had cooled now, no longer persuasive, just present. The distance remained alert, like it had been trained to listen. She noticed the shift in herself first. The heat she'd felt earlier had not vanished. It had moved, settled lower, quieter, less impatient. Desire that didn't rush felt unfamiliar, almost suspicious, like a smile held too long. She stayed seated on the bed, cross-legged, posture relaxed but attentive. The earlier urge to close the space had softened into something more precise. Not hunger, focus. "You've changed," she said. "Yes," he replied. "Already." "Yes." The simplicity of the exchange made her smile. There was no pretending this was accidental. The room knew what it was holding. So did they. She uncrossed her legs and lay back again, this time fully, letting her shoulders sink into the mattress. The sheets no longer clung to her with warmth. They felt neutral now, honest. She placed her hands at her sides, palms down, grounding herself in the contact. "You're still not coming closer," she said. "No." "And it's louder now." "Yes." The word louder resonated. The distance had become something she could feel against her skin, like air before a storm. It wasn't about how far apart they were anymore. It was about how aware she was of every inch between them. She turned onto her side again, facing him, cheek resting against the pillow. Her hair spilled forward, framing her face. She didn't move it away. She didn't arrange herself. She let herself be. "You're letting me see myself like this," she said. "Yes." "And you're not fixing it." "No." The dark humor surfaced, quiet and sharp. "Most people rush to fix discomfort." "Yes," he agreed. "They confuse it with danger." She laughed softly, the sound low and intimate, meant for the room rather than for him. "This feels dangerous." "Yes," he said, "because it isn't numbed." She felt that settle in her body, the truth of it. Desire had always been loud for her, obvious, something that pushed forward and demanded response. This was different. This was desire, learning to sit still. She pushed herself up onto her elbows, changing the angle again, letting the movement register. The mattress responded. The sheets whispered softly. The sound felt amplified in the quiet. His gaze stayed steady. "You're very good at holding," she said. "Yes." "And you know exactly when to stop." "Yes." The awareness between them thickened again, not clinging, not urgent. Clean, sharp. She could feel it like a line drawn down the center of the room, not dividing them, but defining the space they shared. She sat up and slid off the bed, standing barefoot on the floor. The coolness grounded her instantly. She walked a slow circle, not around him, but around the room, letting movement replace the stillness without breaking it. Each step felt deliberate now. "You're not afraid I'll cross it," she said. "No." "You think I won't?" "Yes." The confidence in that answer surprised her into stillness. She stopped walking and faced him. "And if you're wrong," she said, "then the choice will still be yours," he replied. The erotic tension sharpened there, not because of proximity, but because of permission being returned to its owner. She felt it in her chest, a tight, clear awareness that made everything else fall away. She stepped closer, then stopped again, the distance now measured in intention rather than space. "You're watching my restraint," she said. "Yes." "And you like it?" "Yes." The admission was quiet but heavy. This was no longer about denial. It was about recognition, about seeing desire held carefully instead of spent. She reached out again, stopping her hand in the air between them, closer than before. She could feel the warmth of him now, not the bed's memory, but living heat. Her fingers hovered, not trembling, just aware. He didn't move. She let her hand drop. The release of that small choice sent a ripple through her body, a soft wave of control returning where it had been absent for so long. She stepped back and sat on the bed again, this time near the center, claiming the space without ceremony. The posture felt settled, certain. "You're not trying to win," she said again. "No." "You're letting me keep myself." "Yes." The words wrapped around her, not tight, not loose. "Right." She leaned back against the headboard, eyes half closed now, breathing even. The room felt suspended, like it had been holding its breath along with her, and had finally learned how to exhale slowly. Minutes passed without being counted. The tension matured. It stopped demanding resolution and started offering clarity. She opened her eyes and looked at him again, really looked. The steadiness was still there, but now it felt shared rather than imposed. The distance had done its work. "You know," she said quietly, "this is the most intimate thing that's happened tonight." "Yes," he replied, "and we haven't touched." "No." She smiled, slow and genuine. "That's unsettling." "Yes." "And satisfying." "Yes." She laughed softly, the sound easy now, unguarded. The dark humor softened into something warmer, less sharp. "I don't feel rushed anymore," she said. "Good," he replied. "I feel chosen," she continued, surprising herself with the word. "Yes." The bed beneath her felt neutral, supportive without seduction. The distance no longer felt like a weapon. It felt like a decision being honored. She swung her legs off the bed and stood once more, but this time there was no edge to it. No test, no dare. She moved toward the window and looked out, pressing her fingertips lightly to the glass. The city glowed back, distant and unconcerned. "This could end," she said. "Yes." And it wouldn't feel unfinished. "No." She turned back to him, nodding slowly. "That's new," she said. "Yes." The room held steady, comfortable now in its restraint. Desire hadn't disappeared. It had learned a different shape, one that didn't need to be chased. She returned to the bed and sat, folding her legs beneath her, posture relaxed and present. She felt complete in a way she hadn't expected, not because something had happened, but because nothing had been taken. The danger of the distance had softened into trust, not the careless kind, the chosen kind. And as the night continued, unhurried and intact, she realized the most seductive thing in the room was not the bed, not the warmth, not even the space between them. It was the patience they had both learned to keep. The room felt warmer again, but the bed had nothing to do with it. The warmth came from awareness, from the way the air seemed to recognize that something had shifted, not collapsed, not rushed, shifted. The distance between them no longer felt fixed. It felt alert, like it was listening for intent. She noticed it when she stood. Not abruptly, not to provoke. She rose from the bed with the calm confidence of someone who knew exactly why she was moving. Her feet touched the floor softly, grounding her. The coolness traveled up her legs, sharpening sensation instead of dulling it. He stayed where he was. That mattered. She took a step forward. The distance responded, not shrinking, not resisting, acknowledging. "You feel that?" she said. "Yes," he replied. "It's different now." "Yes." She smiled, slow and knowing. The dark humor lingered at the edges of her expression. But something else lived beneath it now. Not challenge. Invitation without demand. She walked past the bed, then past him. Not touching. Letting proximity exist without contact. The air shifted as she passed. The awareness between them tightening briefly, then settling. He turned to follow her movement with his eyes. Nothing else. That restraint was louder now. She stopped near the wall and leaned back against it, arms relaxed at her sides, posture open. She wasn't offering herself. She was occupying space. "You didn't move," she said. "No." "And you could have." "Yes." She nodded, satisfied. "I wanted to see if the distance would follow me," she said. "And," he replied. And it did. The acknowledgement sparked low and slow. The distance wasn't anchored to the room anymore. It was anchored to attention. She pushed off the wall and walked back toward the bed, sitting on it again. Closer to the edge this time. The mattress dipped, not seductively, just honestly. She rested her hands behind her, shoulders back, breathing steady. "You're closer now," she said. "Yes." And still not touching. "No." The erotic tension sharpened there, not urgent, not hungry. Clean. Focused. She felt it move through her like a held note, vibrating without release. She stood again, this time stepping closer than before, stopping just outside the space where touch would be inevitable. Close enough to feel the heat from him clearly now. Not imagined, not remembered. The warmth felt earned. "You're letting me set the pace," she said. "Yes." "That's dangerous." "Yes." "But you trust it." "Yes." The trust in that word lingered. She felt it settle into her chest, grounding instead of inflaming. Desire didn't spike. It deepened. She circled him slowly, not testing, not teasing, observing. The way his posture stayed open, the way his breathing remained even, the way he turned with her, keeping the distance consistent without making it rigid. "You're very precise," she said. "Yes." "And you know exactly when to stop." "Yes." She stopped in front of him again, closer now than she had been all night. The space between them felt alive, humming softly with unspent energy. She could feel it against her skin, a gentle pressure rather than a pull. "This is where most people fail," she said. "Yes." "They rush." "Yes." "They grab." "Yes." "They mistake desire for permission." "Yes." The repetition wasn't flat. It was rhythmic, grounding. Each answer tightened the moment without escalating it. She raised her hand slowly, deliberately, stopping just short of touching his chest. The pause felt enormous. Her fingers hovered in the space between them, aware of every breath, every second. He didn't move. She let her hand fall. The choice echoed through her body, sending a warm, controlled wave downward, not explosive, not demanding, satisfying in a way she hadn't expected. She stepped back, breaking the closeness herself, and laughed quietly. "That," she said, "was harder than I thought." "Yes," he replied. "And you're still here." "Yes." She returned to the bed and sat, folding one leg beneath her, posture relaxed, unguarded. The bed felt neutral now, not tempting, just present. The distance had learned a new shape. "You know," she said, looking at him without challenge, This feels more intimate than anything else that could have happened. Yes. And we're still standing apart. Yes. She nodded slowly. That's unsettling. Yes. And comforting. Yes. The dark humor softened into something warmer, something closer to ease. She felt settled in her body, not restless, not waiting for something to be taken or offered. She leaned back against the headboard, eyes half-lidded, letting the room hold them both. The night outside deepened, but inside time felt suspended rather than urgent. "You're not trying to end this," she said. "No, you're letting it end when it's ready." Yes. The patience in that answer wrapped around her like a quiet promise, not of continuation, of integrity. She stood one last time and walked to the window, looking out at the city lights. They glittered back, distant and unconcerned. She pressed her fingertips lightly to the glass, feeling the cool surface ground her again. "This could stop right here," she said. "Yes." "And it would still be enough." "Yes." She turned back to him and smiled, genuine and unguarded. "That's rare," she said. "Yes." The room settled around them, comfortable now in its restraint. Desire hadn't vanished. It had been refined, shaped into something that didn't demand proof. She returned to the bed and sat, posture relaxed, eyes steady. The bed was warm again, not because of memory, because of choice, and the distance, once dangerous, now felt like the safest thing in the room. Morning didn't rush them. Light arrived slowly, careful with the room, touching edges before surfaces. The city outside sounded awake but unintrusive, like it knew better than to interrupt something that had resolved itself quietly. She woke first, not startled, not searching for where she was or what had happened, just awake, present, aware of her body in the space. The bed beneath her felt warm again, not from memory this time, but from continuity, from the fact that nothing had been broken or taken from it during the night. She sat up and stretched, feeling the easy pull of muscles that hadn't been tense. The room looked the same. The lamp, the chair, the window holding the city at a respectful distance. He was there, near the window, not watching her, not avoiding her, just existing in the same morning. That felt right. She stood and crossed the room barefoot, the floor cool and grounding. She stopped a step away from him, close enough now that distance no longer felt like a rule. It felt like a choice that had already done its work. "You stayed," she said. "Yes," he replied. "And you didn't rush?" "No." She smiled, slow and genuine. The dark humor that had edged their night softened into something warmer now, something that didn't need defense. "Good," she said. She reached out then, not quickly, not testing, but calmly, and rested her hand against his chest. The contact was light, intentional. The moment didn't spark or explode, it settled. He inhaled, steady, and placed his hand over hers, not pressing, not pulling, just meeting it. The warmth between them felt earned now, not borrowed or imagined. "This is different," she said quietly. "Yes." "It doesn't feel dangerous anymore." "No," he agreed. "It feels chosen." She nodded, letting that word sink in. Chosen, not taken, not stumbled into. Chosen carried a satisfaction that didn't fade quickly. She stepped closer, closing the last of the distance without ceremony. Their bodies aligned naturally, not seeking friction, not avoiding it. The contact felt complete without needing escalation. She rested her forehead lightly against his shoulder and laughed softly, the sound relaxed, unguarded. "I waited for the wrong thing," she said. "Yes," he replied. "And you waited for the right one." "Yes." They stood there for a moment, breathing in sync without trying. The tension that had once filled the room now lived quietly between them, not sharp, not demanding. It felt like a low current, steady and alive. She stepped back and looked at him, really looked at him in daylight. The steadiness was still there, but now it felt shared, something they were holding together rather than something he maintained alone. "I'm not interested in games anymore," she said. "I know," he replied. "I want this," she continued, "whatever this is, slowly, on purpose." He smiled, not triumphant, not relieved, just present. "So do I," he said. They moved then, not toward the bed, not toward urgency, but toward the day. Coffee brewed. The window opened wider. The city's sounds drifted in, grounding the moment in reality. Later, they sat side by side, close enough that their arms brushed occasionally, the contact casual and intimate at the same time. Conversation flowed easily now, not circling power or restraint, but sharing small truths, preferences, habits, things they avoided, things they wanted to keep. Nothing felt owed. That was the satisfaction in it. When she finally returned to the bed, it was with intention rather than invitation. She lay back, patting the space beside her, not as a test, not as a dare. He joined her without hesitation, the mattress dipping to accept them both. The warmth spread naturally, no longer dangerous, no longer persuasive, just present. They lay there, bodies close, not entangled, letting contact exist without instruction. Her head rested against his shoulder. His arm rested lightly along her side, not claiming, not hovering. "This," she said softly, "is exactly enough." "Yes," he replied. The room held them gently. The line that had once defined everything now dissolved into something quieter and stronger, not erased, integrated. She closed her eyes and let herself enjoy the simple fact of being there without anticipation, without performance. The night had given her clarity. The morning had given her peace. She had learned that distance could be dangerous when misunderstood and powerful when respected. She had learned that warmth meant more when it followed choice. As sleep returned, lighter this time, she smiled to herself. The bed was warm, the distance was gone, and for the first time nothing about that felt like a risk.